Have you ever laid in bed staring at the ceiling, your mind racing with regrets from the past or fears of tomorrow? You're exhausted, yet your thoughts won't let you rest. That inner noise, the chatter of everything you wish you said, didn't say, or are afraid will happen, it follows you into the dark. But what if I told you? There's a simple sentence, just a few words, that can disarm that chaos, slow your heartbeat and clear your mind like still water. No apps, no complicated techniques. Just a mantra. One ancient phrase, spoken with awareness before sleep. And your entire inner state begins to shift. To stay with me until the end of this speech, not just to learn the mantra, but to understand why it works and how to use it so it truly transforms your nights and your mind. Each day, we collect emotional dust. Arguments, news, pressure, mistakes, overthinking. It sticks to our consciousness like static, and we carry that into our sleep, which is why even after 8 hours, we wake up tired. But the mind is a garden, and before sleep we must weed out the thorns. This mantra does just that. It's not magic. It's mindfulness wrapped in vibration. Each word is shaped to help you surrender tension, regret, guilt, and fear. It teaches the mind to let go. Not through force, but by gentle repetition. Now, the mantra. Say it slowly. Say it gently. Say it with awareness of its meaning, and watch how your breath, your mind, and your heart begin to shift. I am not my thoughts. I return to stillness. Repeat it aloud, or within yourself. Let it echo like a whisper inside your chest. With each repetition, you are peeling off layers of mental noise, returning to the silence that was always there underneath. Every day, whether we notice it or not, we absorb energy from everything and everyone around us. The conversations we have, the news we consume, the pressure we feel, the mistakes we replay, and the things left unsaid. These all stick to us like dust clinging to skin. By the end of the day, the mind is rarely clean. It's full of noise, tension, overstimulation, emotions that haven't found resolution, and thoughts that just won't let go. Most people believe that rest begins when they lie down and close their eyes. But true rest begins when the mind stops chasing. And yet here we are, many of us lying in bed at night, our bodies still, but our minds sprinting through endless corridors of memory, regret, fantasy, or fear. Sleep becomes a battle. We try to force ourselves into rest, which is like trying to command water to become still by shouting at it. The more you try to silence the mind through willpower, the louder it often becomes. Why? Because the mind, like the body, needs a ritual of release. Just as we brush our teeth before bed to remove the plaque of the day, we also need to cleanse the mental residue we've accumulated. But few of us have ever been taught how. This is where the power of a mantra comes in, not as some mystical chant reserved for the spiritually elite, but as a practical grounded tool for mental hygiene. A mantra is simply a set of words, spoken with intention, that guides the mind away from chaos and toward calm. Think of it like a mental stream of warm water, washing away the leftover sediment of the day. It doesn't argue with your thoughts, it doesn't fight with your fears, it just returns your awareness, gently and consistently, back to a place of stillness. When you speak a mantra before sleep, you are telling your mind, it's safe to let go now. You're signaling to your nervous system that the day is over. The decisions are made, the actions are done. There is nothing more to solve, fix, or control. This gives your subconscious permission to release its grip on the need to think, analyze, or replay what has already passed. It's a reset, not of the external world, but of your internal experience. There's a cleansing that happens when we give the mind a simple, repetitive focus just before sleep. It breaks the loop. Instead of letting one anxious thought feed another, the mantra interrupts the cycle, and in that interruption, peace has space to enter. You begin to notice the space between your thoughts growing wider. The internal pressure starts to dissolve. Your breath slows, your jaw softens, the shoulders once tight with tension begin to drop. Over time, with regular practice, the mantra becomes more than just a bedtime tool. It becomes a signal to the deeper self that no matter what happened during the day, you are not defined by it. You are not your worries. You are not your mistakes. You are not your to-do list. You are the awareness beneath all of that. The mantra brings you back to this knowing. This is why it's not just a technique, it's a detox. Not in the trendy way that people talk about detoxing the body, but in the real, invisible, essential sense of clearing the clutter from the mind. Because a cluttered mind cannot rest. A cluttered mind cannot dream clearly. A cluttered mind carries yesterday into today, and today into tomorrow, without ever starting fresh. And that's a heavy way to live. When you make speaking this mantra a ritual, especially right before bed, you reclaim your nights, you reclaim your peace. The world becomes a little quieter, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed the way you carry it inside. That is the quiet power of a mantra before sleep. It's not loud, it doesn't force anything, it simply offers you a mirror and says, here, this is who you are beneath all of this. You are not your thoughts. You are the stillness that watches them pass. And when you fall asleep with that truth echoing inside you, your dreams soften, your rest deepens, and your waking hours slowly begin to reflect the calm you allowed yourself the night before. The mind, when given space to breathe, heals, and this nightly mental detox may be the most gentle, yet most powerful, act of self-care you ever practice. Sleep is supposed to be a time of healing, a space where the body repairs, the mind reprocesses, and the spirit resets. But for many, sleep has become a struggle, something we chase but never quite catch. We lie in bed, hoping the silence will bring rest, but our thoughts don't follow the same schedule. The body may be still, but the mind is wide awake, revisiting conversations, reviewing what went wrong, imagining what might happen next. Night becomes less of a sanctuary and more of a second shift, one where our worries take center stage. The truth is, we don't just fall asleep, we descend into sleep, gently, gradually, like a leaf floating to the ground. And in order for that descent to happen, our nervous system must feel safe. The heart rate must slow, the breath must deepen, the body must begin releasing the chemicals of calm. But in today's overstimulated world, many people go to bed carrying adrenaline from the day, tension in their shoulders, and unresolved emotions in their chest. It's no wonder so many people wake up tired, even after hours in bed. They weren't sleeping, they were just unconscious under stress. This is where a mantra, spoken intentionally before sleep, can be so powerful. It acts as a signal to the mind and body. The day is done, you can let go now. You don't have to carry this any further. Just a few soft words, repeated with awareness, can create the internal conditions required for real rest. Not just physical stillness, but nervous system release. A letting go so complete that the body begins to slip into the rhythms of deep, restorative sleep. Think of the mind as a river. All day it rushes, crashes, flows, filled with to-do lists, news, interactions, noise. But when you speak a calming mantra at night, you're building a dam, not to block the river, but to slow it down, to allow it to settle, to become still enough that the silt falls to the bottom, and clarity begins to return to the surface. This mental stillness is what allows the body to begin producing melatonin, the sleep hormone. When stress is high and the mind is active, melatonin is suppressed. But when calm enters the system, the brain switches gears. It exits survival mode and re-enters restoration mode. The mantra doesn't have to be complex, it doesn't have to be ancient or foreign, it only needs to hold the right intention. Something like, I release this day, or peace is my nature, or I am safe, I am still. These simple phrases become like lullabies, not for children, but for the overworked adult mind. They soothe the mental turbulence that often lingers long after the world around us has gone quiet. There is also something deeply physiological that happens when you speak a mantra out loud or whisper it to yourself. The sound vibrations, especially when spoken slowly and mindfully, stimulate the vagus nerve, which is the master regulator of the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of your nervous system responsible for rest, digestion, and repair. By activating this system with sound and intention, you're quite literally changing your body's chemistry. Cortisol lowers, heart rate slows. The mind begins to detach from its habitual loops of thought. In this state, sleep is no longer something you have to chase. It arrives naturally, like dusk turning into night. Over time, this practice becomes more than just a sleep aid. It becomes a ritual, a sacred pause at the end of the day that gives your nervous system permission to exhale. And the more consistently you do it, the more your body begins to associate the mantra with safety. That association builds a new neural pathway, a bridge between stress and stillness. A reminder that sleep isn't a reward you earn after finishing everything. It's a right, and it's one that begins when you make space for peace. You may notice that with regular practice, your sleep becomes not just longer, but deeper. You wake up feeling clearer, more present. Dreams become softer. The internal noise that once followed you into bed begins to fade. That's the gift of a calming mantra. It doesn't just put the mind to sleep, it helps the soul rest. Because deep sleep isn't just about shutting down, it's about resetting from within. So tonight, before reaching for your phone, before scrolling, before replaying the day, pause, sit in silence, close your eyes, and speak the mantra, not because it's magic, but because your nervous system is listening. And when you speak to it with calm intention, it responds in kind. You rest easier, you dream deeper, and you wake up not just recharged, but restored. Clarity isn't just about having answers, it's about being able to see without distortion. But most of us are living with a mind clouded by constant noise. Noise from outside, and even more from within. Thoughts that spiral, emotions that react, judgments that cling. In this state, it's hard to hear our own intuition. It's hard to know what's true, what matters, or what direction to take. The mind, left unchecked, becomes not a tool, but a fog. And peace, true peace, feels out of reach. But what if clarity and peace weren't something we had to search for? What if they were already within us, simply buried under too much movement? Too many unchecked thoughts, unprocessed emotions, and endless distractions. The truth is, peace isn't something we find, it's something we return to. And the key to returning is practice. Gentle, consistent practice. That's where the repetition of a mantra becomes more than just words. It becomes a way back to yourself. When you repeat a mantra daily, especially at night, something begins to shift in your internal landscape. The mind learns a new rhythm. Instead of running after every thought, it starts to slow down. It starts to listen. Repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity creates safety. And the moment your mind begins to feel safe, it begins to soften. Tension lowers, emotional storms calm, and suddenly you can see again, not through the lens of stress or urgency, but through the quiet of presence. We live in a world that pushes us toward constant doing, constant producing, constant reacting. We rarely pause long enough to ask how we feel or whether the thoughts we're thinking are even worth our energy. Over time, this creates a backlog of emotional weight, a kind of mental clutter. The repetition of a mantra becomes a clearing mechanism, not in one night, but over time. Each night, a little more of the residue lifts. Each night, the nervous system releases a little more, and through this slow unwinding, clarity emerges. Emotional balance returns. Emotional balance isn't the absence of emotion, it's the ability to feel without being swept away, to witness fear or sadness or anger without becoming consumed by them. That's what a regular mantra practice offers. It trains the mind to observe instead of react. It strengthens your inner witness. So instead of falling into every emotional wave, you begin to watch them rise and fall like clouds passing through the sky. You become less attached and more aware, less reactive and more rooted. Clarity comes from that space. It doesn't come when the mind is full. It comes when the mind has room to breathe. When you speak a mantra before sleep, you're not just calming the surface. You're working into the deeper layers of the self. You're creating stillness, and in stillness, insight has space to emerge. You may start to notice new perspectives, creative ideas, or solutions that seemed impossible before, not because anything outside has changed, but because your inner lens has become clearer. Over time, this clarity begins to affect how you show up in the world. You begin to make choices from calm instead of chaos. You speak more thoughtfully, you listen more deeply, and you begin to feel a sense of inner peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. It lives within you, steady and quiet, because you've practiced coming back to it again and again. The mantra becomes like a gentle bell, reminding you of what matters and calling you home to yourself. It doesn't matter what words you use as long as they carry the energy of peace. Something simple, something real, something that resonates with the part of you that's tired of noise and ready for stillness. Maybe it's I am enough, or I trust the silence, or peace begins with me. The words are only the doorway, the practice is what opens it. And the more you walk through that doorway, the more you begin to live from that space, not just at night, but in every moment of your life. Inner peace and clarity aren't distant goals. They are your natural state, waiting beneath the noise. A nightly mantra is one of the simplest, most powerful ways to return. Speak it gently, speak it slowly, speak it like a gift to yourself. And over time, watch as the fog lifts, and the calm you've been craving becomes the calm you carry within you. Everyday life places more weight on us. Deadlines, misunderstandings, missed opportunities, things we wish we had done differently or not at all. Some of it we brush off easily, but other moments stay with us. They linger in the background of our mind, quietly shaping the way we feel, the way we think, the way we sleep. Over time, without realizing it, we begin to carry each day into the next, like baggage we forgot to unpack. The result is a constant mental load, a mind that never fully rests, and a heart that forgets how to let go. We don't always realize how much we're holding on to until we try to be still. That's when all the noise shows up. The conversations that didn't go the way we planned, the decisions that haunt us, the fears about what tomorrow may bring. They rise to the surface not because they want to punish us, but because they were never released. They are still looking for resolution, still trapped in the mind's loop. And this is why having a daily reset ritual, especially one done before sleep, is not a luxury, it's a necessity. The power of a mantra lies in its ability to interrupt that mental loop, to cut through the noise and offer the mind a new pattern to follow. When spoken with presence, the mantra becomes more than words, it becomes a key that unlocks the cage of thoughts and emotions that we otherwise trap ourselves in. You don't need to relive the day 100 times. You don't need to figure everything out before sleep. You just need a ritual that gives you permission to let go. Think of this practice as a soft reset. You're not erasing the past. You're simply releasing the grip it has on you. When you speak a mantra like, I release this day, or I forgive what I cannot change, or I give myself permission to rest, you are signaling to your deeper self that it's okay to drop the weight. The day has ended. What needed to happen, happened. What didn't, can wait. You are not required to carry everything into the next sunrise. This nightly reset allows you to meet each new day fresh. Imagine waking up without the leftover anger from yesterday's argument. Imagine beginning your morning without the weight of guilt for something you can't change. That kind of freedom is possible not because life gets easier, but because you've trained your mind to reset, to not accumulate what no longer serves you. And the key to that training is consistency, doing the ritual every night even when you feel too tired, even when your mind says it doesn't matter, because those are the nights it matters most. When you build this ritual into your life, you begin to develop a new kind of mental discipline, not the kind that suppresses emotion, but the kind that honors it and releases it. You start to develop emotional hygiene. Just like you wash your face or brush your teeth, you begin to cleanse your thoughts and feelings. This process doesn't just change your sleep, it changes your waking life. You become less reactive. You start each day with more emotional space. You meet challenges with a clearer mind because you're no longer carrying the weight of unresolved yesterdays. The beautiful thing is, this reset ritual doesn't require anything external. No technology, no equipment. Just your breath, your attention, and a willingness to speak to yourself with honesty and care. Some nights the words will feel powerful, other nights they may feel routine. But even in those moments of routine, they are working. They are planting seeds in the subconscious. They are creating new pathways in the brain. They are teaching your inner world that peace is always available if you're willing to return to it. There is something sacred about giving yourself this moment before sleep. To say, I am not what happened today. I am not my mistakes. I am not my fears. To give yourself space, to be whole again, outside of what the world demanded of you. That's what a reset does. It brings you back to your center, not to fix the past, but to stop dragging it forward. And when you do this, when you make a simple mantra part of your bedtime rhythm, you'll start to feel it. The weight lifting, the mind softening, the sleep deepening, and when morning comes, you won't rise as the same person who went to bed burdened by yesterday. You'll rise lighter, clearer, and ready to face the day from a place of calm strength. That is the quiet gift of a daily reset ritual, and it starts with one mindful moment, one spoken mantra, one breath at a time. So much of our suffering doesn't come from what's happening right now. It comes from what already happened or what we fear might happen next. Our minds, powerful as they are, often work against us by constantly rewinding or fast-forwarding. We replay conversations that ended hours ago. We project outcomes that haven't yet begun. We carry regret from the past and anxiety about the future. And somewhere in between, we lose the one thing we truly have: this moment. But here's the truth. Peace can only ever be found in the present. Not in what was, not in what might be, only now. And the problem is, we're rarely in now. Even as our bodies lie in bed, ready to rest, our minds are somewhere else. Back at the meeting we messed up, or worrying about what we'll say tomorrow. We fall asleep thinking of what went wrong or what could go wrong, and we wonder why we wake up tired. It's because the mind never came home. This is where a mantra can become more than a practice. It can become a lifeline, a way to gently pull yourself back from the edges of time and return to the only place where healing happens. Here, now. A mantra, when spoken with intention, draws your awareness out of thought and into presence. Each word becomes an anchor, a breath, a return. And as you speak it, slowly, mindfully, something begins to shift inside. The noise fades, the racing slows. You remember that you are not your past. You are not your worries. You are this breath, this stillness, this moment. You don't have to believe in anything mystical to feel the power of presence. You only have to notice how different your body feels when you're truly here, not halfway lost in yesterday, not halfway worried about tomorrow, fully here. The heart rate drops, the tension in your face softens, the breath becomes slower, the nervous system begins to settle because it senses the mind has stopped running. It senses safety, and that's what the present moment truly is. A space of safety. When you're here, fully here, nothing is wrong. The past has already passed. The future has not arrived. There is only breath. There is only awareness. And in that awareness, there is calm, there is clarity, there is connection. But we need help remembering. The world has trained us to rush ahead, to hold on, to overthink. The mantra becomes the counterbalance, the gentle hand that says, "Come back, you're safe here. You don't need to fix anything right now, you just need to be." The practice isn't about forcing the mind to be quiet, it's about inviting it to return. Each time it wanders, the mantra brings it back to the now, and with each return, the present moment becomes a little more familiar, a little more comforting. Over time, the mind begins to feel at home here. The space that once felt empty starts to feel peaceful. You begin to crave this presence, not just before sleep, but during the day, when things get busy, when emotions rise, when decisions need to be made. You remember that there's power in pausing, power in anchoring yourself in the moment. There's also something deeply healing about ending your day in presence, not distracted, not spiraling in thought, but here, with yourself, with your breath, with your heart. To fall asleep, not with worry in your chest, but with awareness in your body. That's not just good rest, that's transformation. That's the kind of sleep that resets the spirit, not just the body. Because it wasn't stress that tucked you in, it was presence. And the more you do this, the more life begins to feel different. Not because your circumstances suddenly change, but because your relationship to them does. You stop trying to control every outcome. You stop living in reaction. You begin to respond from awareness, from stillness. Even in difficult moments you remember, I can return. I can come back to now. It may sound simple, but don't mistake simplicity for weakness. Some of the most powerful changes in our lives happen when we start paying attention. The mantra is just the beginning, the doorway, but it's a doorway into everything your mind has been looking for: peace, presence, rest. So tonight, when the lights go out and your thoughts begin to stir, reach for the mantra. Let it become your rhythm, your homecoming. Let it draw your awareness away from all the stories and bring you back to what's real, this moment, this breath, this now. Because here, in this space, nothing is missing. You are safe, you are whole, and you are already where you need to be. We spend most of our lives looking outward at what others are doing, what the world demands, what we think we should be. Our attention is scattered across screens, conversations, responsibilities, and noise. But how often do we stop and turn that attention inward, not to criticize, not to judge, but to simply observe, to notice what's really going on beneath the surface? Most of us aren't taught how to do that. We are not trained to understand ourselves, and yet every step toward peace, healing, and clarity begins with one essential shift: self-awareness. Without self-awareness, we move through life on autopilot. We react instead of respond. We repeat patterns without knowing why. We feel overwhelmed by emotions we can't name or explain. We assume we're at the mercy of life, when in truth, we're often at the mercy of our own unconscious patterns. But that can change if we are willing to look within. And one of the simplest yet most powerful tools to begin this inward journey is the repetition of a mantra. A mantra isn't magic. It's focus. It's a tool that helps redirect your attention from the outside world into the inner world. When you repeat a mantra with intention, especially before sleep when the world quiets down, you start to notice things you usually overlook. You begin to hear the thoughts that run beneath the surface. You become aware of how your mind jumps, how your body holds tension, how your heart feels without needing to explain it. The practice isn't about controlling your mind, it's about getting to know it. This is where real transformation begins. The more you listen, the more you start to see patterns. Maybe you notice that your thoughts are always rushing to fix something, or that certain emotions like guilt or fear rise up when things get quiet. Maybe you discover that you carry anger that doesn't belong to this day, but to a much older wound. None of this awareness is meant to overwhelm you. It's meant to awaken you. Because once you see a pattern, you're no longer trapped in it. You can choose how to respond. Self-awareness is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about developing an honest, compassionate relationship with yourself. And mantra helps build that relationship. Night after night, you show up. You repeat the words not to escape, but to look inward with softness. To notice, without judgment, what lives inside you. Some nights you may feel peaceful. Other nights, discomfort may rise. Both are welcome, because both are information. Both are parts of you asking to be seen. What's beautiful is that over time this practice becomes more than just a habit. It becomes a mirror, a quiet, reliable mirror that reflects your truth back to you. It helps you recognize emotional triggers before they take over. It helps you name the feelings you once ignored or suppressed. It helps you pause in moments where you would have reacted out of old pain. That pause, that space of awareness, is where growth happens. It's where healing begins. Self-awareness is like light. When you shine it on a dark place inside you, that place doesn't stay dark. It softens, it shifts, and you start to realize that nothing inside you is your enemy, not even your fear, not even your doubts. They are messengers. They are parts of you that want to be understood, not silenced. And the more you understand yourself, the more you trust yourself. You stop needing constant approval or validation. You stop fearing stillness because now you know how to be with yourself in that space. Mantra gives you the structure to do that. It's not always easy to sit with our thoughts, but the repetition of a phrase, especially one that carries intention, compassion, or strength, gives your mind a path to follow, a rhythm that holds you, a thread to return to when you get lost. And in that repetition, the mind begins to settle. The inner critic begins to quiet. The deeper voice, the one beneath the noise, begins to emerge. That voice is your truth. That voice is your guide. So when you speak your mantra tonight, let it be more than a task. Let it be an invitation to turn inward, not with fear, but with curiosity. What is living in your mind tonight? What is your body holding on to? What part of your heart needs to be heard? You don't need all the answers. You only need the willingness to see, and in that seeing, you begin to free yourself. The world will always try to pull your attention outward, but the real journey, the one that changes everything, begins within, and it begins with one quiet moment, one conscious breath, one repeated mantra, spoken not to escape your thoughts, but to finally meet them, and through that meeting, begin to understand the most important person in your life, yourself. The world doesn't need another restless soul. It needs more people who go to bed with a quiet mind and wake up with a heart full of calm. Tonight, try it. Just once. Speak the mantra. Let it settle. And watch your dreams become lighter, your breath deeper, and your thoughts finally still.